your Art Sherpa, and today we're doing the Big Art Quest color wheel number 2. We're going to be talking about warm and cool colors on the wheel and how to use that with the paint that you have. This is you not buying some more paint, mostly in general, or buying the least amount of new paint, and making what you've got at home work really, really well. So in art, if you think about it, there's been a lot of advancement in pigment in the last 100 years, especially, Texas snowflakes, especially the last 50 years. And pigments are more archival than they ever were before. They're more predictable than they ever were before. There's this cool organization that paint companies can voluntarily work with to create a paint standard. And so cadmium paints, which get a lot of grief, actually changed the paint world because they created a stable red that didn't fade and a stable yellow. So, and believe it or not, the paint that we used to paint with was significantly more dangerous and difficult to produce than what we have now. But if you think about it, when you go to the museum and you see paintings, you'll see paintings painted with really difficult, problematic materials that were really well done. And how that happened is the artists understood their materials. They understood color theory. They understood what they had worked, and they made that work the best for them. The other day on the YouTube channel, not the YouTube channel, on Facebook. Oh, by the way, I forgot to introduce John, didn't I? I got distracted by Texas snowflakes. There's a voice. You're going to hear it. It's my husband, John. He controls the cameras.
Yes, cameras 1, 2, 3.
So you can see what I'm doing and be informed. He also reads your questions. So if I'm talking on a subject and you're like, I nearly have it, but I don't quite have it, you know, you can put those in capitals, and one of our moderators will make sure John gets it. We have several moderators. Those are people with the wrenches. This is the Big Art Quest. This is where we cover stuff that you might traditionally see in... I love my Texas snowflakes.
They would like to know what Texas snowflakes are.
Texas snowflakes are my bubbles, because that's the kind of stuff. Each one is unique and different than the other one.
And we don't get any other kind of snowflakes down here?
We don't really get any. Houston, this is my snowflake. Do you love it? It's snowing in my studio. I've been playing with this nonstop and have declared them Texas snowflakes. John also controls the Texas snowflakes. None of this is related to art in a direct way, but does make it a lot more fun to do. So the Big Art Quest is a lot like what you'd see in art school, but it's not pretentious. It's not overblown. I try to explain it simply as I can, and it's not a class, it's a quest, because not all this information is usable for you at home. This particular bit of information, though, is very usable about how to take what's in your current art bucket. So like if you're painting apple barrel paints, there are some artists that paint apple barrel paints. They get really great results, and sometimes artists get paid apple barrel paints and they get really terrible results. And there is some issue with the paint, right? But an artist that understands their paint will always get better results than an artist who has the very best possible paint on the market but doesn't understand it at all.
Well, there are a bunch of Sherpets out here giving you big art high fives and hugs. We got over 220 people out here, just all here to do the quest.
Do the quest.
The color quest.
I'm wearing my quest shirt today. Never judge your journey by the first step.
Yeah.
So I have all my paints out. This is about grabbing the paint that you have.
Yeah.
And making a color wheel with it. Figuring out which of your colors lean more warm and more cool. And therefore, when you're doing your color charts, when you're mixing your colors, you get a better sense of like, I know I'm going to get a bright green, or I know I'm going to get a neutral toned down green. Because there's a secondary tone, right, warm and cool, on all paint, whether it goes cool or goes warm, and that impacts the result you get on your color a lot. So this little sucker here, I think it needs to stop snowing.
Too much snow.
Too much snow. And that's the other thing about Texas snowflakes, I can turn off my weather. So this is my favorite color wheel. I have a link to this, and I have put free color wheels down below, this color wheel link down below, and one of my very favorite books on color down below. A couple of them, actually. Again, I like artists that tell you the information, but don't make it seem like it belongs to an elite few group of people, right? This is just how the product works. Understanding that, whether it's pastel or watercolor, this side has the pastel side, this side has the full tip strength side. It gives you understandings of like, where are your split complements? Where are your complement colors? All of that. This is a color wheel. This is one I made with the paint in my bucket.
Now that's pretty cool.
Doesn't look quite the same, but it does look similar.
Now, there are a lot of people really excited about this. Lots of new people showed up. Emmerich is new. I saw Lacey and of course a lot of our old, our regular crew, Alan and Donna and Jessica and Mokatz and
I know Alan's gonna be into this too.
Lynn's here. Yeah, there's so Dominique's here. Gail, Rhonda, a lot of folks. I mean, like I said, 227 people here. Thank you guys all for showing up. Thank you for coming and joining us here. So let's get to it.
Let's totally get to it.
We're ready to go for this.
You guys know me. I'm a big baby. I paint with pro paints.
Yeah.
I really like my paint to behave a certain way, and I like a lot of pigment in it, and I want to have this really lush experience, and so I save my money by using my coupons to death.
I used them this morning.
Yeah,
more palette paper.
We're tactic. I'm not like those coupon ladies, but I have elements of that in me when it comes to the art store. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to pull out my yellows that I traditionally have in my palette, my base palette. I have more yellows than this, guys. Mm-hmm. But these are the yellows that I just sort of always have in my palette when I'm painting. This is cadmium yellow light. This is cadmium medium, yellow oxide, and you guys have seen me use this Australian sienna. By the way, a good alternative to Australian sienna is actually cadmium yellow deep, interestingly enough.
Interesting.
You might not know that. It's just a good thing. So cad yellow light, I'm going to put this out here. I'm going to put it out a little bit, right, is very different than cad yellow medium. Can you see that on the palette? Yeah, you really can. Okay.
I did my best to make sure that the cameras were fairly well color adjusted today.
The difference between these two that we're looking for is not that one is lighter and one is darker. The difference is that one skews to the green side of my color wheel. And let's see if you can see this here.
I'm gonna actually zoom in on that if we
right?
can.
Where does this skew? And you can use one of these color wheels whenever you're trying to figure out what the heck is going on with your paint. Right? Don't ever just read a blog and just trust it, because there's a lot, and I'm going to explain to you why there's a lot of misinformation, half-baked thinking in color theory. Sometimes even my thinking is half-baked. It's because it's almost like alchemy. And yeah, it can get more scientific, but the fundamental first problem is in the wheel. John and I were talking about this earlier.
Oh yeah, that the wheel, there is no color wheel in like we talk about the fundamental physics of the universe. It is a spectrum. It
would end here and start about here.
Yeah. So ultraviolet is the end of our ability to see that deep blue, and then infrared, which
I think is somewhere right here.
Yeah, it's probably there. It's more red there, and then your finger over there, one more to the. And what ends up happening is because the way that the blues fade off and the reds pick up, we perceive that middle tone between hot and cold in that magenta space.
So around the 1800s.
Yeah.
A really wonderful creative person just sort of wrapped the color spectrum around into a wheel.
Yeah, they just
trying to describe to you what was happening with color, that colors that were closer to the yellows were warmer when they were on this side.
Yeah.
Were warmer, and colors over here in the green and blues were cooler, perceptively. Obviously, they have no actual physical temperature. But we think of these colors as being sun and summer and fire, and these colors as being shadows and cool waters and ices, and so therefore this happened. These colors push forward on our canvas. These colors tend to push back. Mm-hmm. This is very important when we're painting. If I'm painting a landscape, I need to have my warmer colors all up front in high definition, detail, and saturation. As I get back in my canvas to objects that are further away, I cool them down and I desaturate them. Landscapes in general, all the time going on. And don't use Ansel Adams as a reference. Mm-hmm. Pinhole cameras mess with you. You want to see it like your eyes would see it. So you think about your mountains. They're kind of a grade purple far away, aren't they? Often.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then the flowers that are up close and all the greens are in the warmer ranges. And that's how we create the illusion of depth in a canvas. If I'm painting an O'Keeffe flower, all the parts of the petals and the flower that I want to pull forward in the canvas, I saturate, I warm up, and everything where I want to create mood and tone, I cool down.
Mm-hmm.
Whole thing is still flat.
Now, there's a whole bunch of people out here cheering. Actually, a few people out here cheering. They're like, yay, chemistry background paid off in understanding of the color spectrum.
Chemistry background will pay off in paint.
Physics,
in dividends.
chemistry.
Dive deep.
Yeah.
Have fun. Go far, because this stuff, this is the mad science of art. It's super fun. I know people, when they get into this hole, they never get out. Ever. They're just in the color theory, because you can do things in color theory that are such mad hat. It's just extraordinary.
Yeah, it's like...
So I have this primary here. I have this CAD light and I have this CAD medium, and you can see that my CAD light is closer to this true yellow, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
you can see there on the screen where you're centered there.
Yeah, okay. Right. So this one right here, and it tends to lean more towards this green.
Mm-hmm.
But where is this one more? You can see right there. So this, right, versus this.
Right.
Where are they on the wheel? This tells me a lot about the types of greens that I can mix, because if my greens, right, are too cool, too down this way, and I'm mixing these, they'll be more neutral, and if they're more over here, they'll be more vibrant. Oh, you're saying centered like that. I'm like, I know, I did them reverse. Okay. Okay. So, then we've got some reds here, right? We've got some reds. And I tend to like, and you might have noticed this, CAD red light. And then I have CAD red medium. Interestingly, things are showing up. These are not just different values of the same color, are they? They're different colors. That's another thing I think that messes with people. Alizarin crimson. See those out there? So I can use my color wheel and get a sense that this is more orange red, this is more to the red, and this is more to my violet red. This is my warmest. This is what I'm going to treat as my main red, and this is my cool red. The new color wheel. Babe.
Oh, sorry. I'm reading questions.
The new color wheel has two primaries. It's a warm primary and a cool primary. So what that means to you as an artist, because you'll hear people say, have you seen the new color wheel? It has warm primaries and cool primaries, and you're just sitting there going, wait, isn't it yellow? So what they're saying is that you need 2 yellows, 2 reds, and 2 blues. If you get good at your 2 yellows, 2 reds, and 2 blues, you can actually mix a ton of stuff without ever having to buy another tube of paint. I don't know why you do that. I like buying tubes of paint. But you could, and I've seen it done.
So what this is all coming down to is that at the end of the day, there are very few colors that magically mix evenly to make all of the other colors on the spectrum.
They just don't mix magically.
Yeah, and
you do not have 3 colors that magically mix all the other colors. You have a warm and cool color. So there's 6 primaries that will magically mix you nearly everything. But there's not 3 that will magically, they'll mix you half.
But even within that, there are pigments out there that are so unique that they can't be replicated.
Yes.
Yinmin is a good example of this.
Yinmin cannot, but you know what? There's stuff that's close to it.
There's stuff that's very close.
And that's the other thing, too. Like, sometimes we as artists will have redundant pigments. In other words, we've got 2 of them and they're real close, and I don't know why I have both. I just like them.
Because you like them. And
also, in stuff like the cadmiums, there's hue, and for the purposes of being a student, right, and you're saving money, definitely get hue. If you have allergies and you think you have a metal allergy, I would definitely get hue. It really isn't permeable to your skin, and the urgency about cadmium is actually more about smoking. Fertilizers, there's more of it in toy plastic products. There's more of it in home products. So a lot of that concern is really about other products that have industrial grade processes. Gamblin' artist oils actually doesn't even have to have a poison warning on its oil paint with cadmium because you can actually. I don't eat it. But you can eat it.
There
Don't
are
eat
people
it.
saying that you can do that.
Yes.
Don't
do it.
We don't endorse or believe or think anything.
Right now, the hot, exciting topic right now on YouTube seems to be cadmium, but the truth is, like, and we'll have a whole interesting quest on this. Paint be toxic.
Yeah, paint. Just in general, dyes and things are generally not good for you, and they're put.
I don't even trust that food dye.
Yeah, I mean, like and in general, you shouldn't. I mean, like, they don't say eat a lot of food dye. It's like for very small amounts. But
so I'm going to put out some ultramarine, which most artists use more.
Yep.
And then I'm going to put out phthalo blue, which most artists use less. I'm very unusual, and you might have noticed that in the color tube mixing kits, because all the color tube mixing kits have ultramarine blue, not phthalo.
Right.
Now, I like to lean on my phthalo because I like to be able to pop a vibrant color when I need it, and I know how to tone my phthalo down. I know how to put my phthalo in the color because I use color theory. And you guys are using it all the time. Every time I have you add a tint of burnt sienna to phthalo, you're using color theory because you're going to be toning it down.
Now, can I make an observational comment?
Yeah, you can always make an observation. I don't know. Listen to it, but you can always make one. Okay.
One of the things I noticed about like some of your favorite colors, like the Southern Ocean blue and those colors like that, is that you can't that you can get a color when you mix Southern Ocean blue with something else that you can't get when you mix Southern Ocean blue using other colors and then try to mix it again.
Yeah.
That's, you know what I'm trying to say there?
I do know exactly what you're saying there. And we're going to talk a little bit, boy, I'm going to show you some stuff here. So look at my color wheel. So I was doing some testing.
Yeah.
This is my Cad Yellow Light. This is my Hunter's Green, which I noticed was actually just a titch more yellow than my Sage Green. This is my Viridian Green that we use in skin. Here's my Phthalo Green. Here's my Southern Ocean Blue. This is my Phthalo Blue. This is my Cerulean Blue. This is my Ultramarine Blue. This is my Prussian Blue. Now, a lot of times I'll say, if you can't use Phthalo Blue, you can try your Prussian Blue. But you can see these are not the same color, and they're not in the same place on the color wheel. And that's why I'm always reluctant to necessarily exchange colors, just simply because if this is this close to the violet, it's going to really mix differently than this Phthalo Blue, which has much more green in it. The distance between these two is the big deal for what we do in landscape painting. I've got my alizarin crimson, my quinacridone magenta, my cad red medium, my cad red light, my cad orange, my Australian sienna, and here's my medium. This is what I have in my chart. Now, how I check if I'm the right direction on my chart is the part that I wanted to show you guys today. Is this going to be warm or is it going to be cool? Because if your colors are opposite ends on the color wheel, what do? They gray out. So you know with me that if I take a little bit of my cad red medium over to my phthalo blue, it does what? It grays out, doesn't it?
Now, this goes to some questions that were kind of popping up here in chat.
Pop that there. That's pretty grayed out. It's not purple by any means, is it? Right? This is not a purple. I haven't mixed purple. And if you came from, grade school art class, which many, many people have in painting, the last information that you had... Wait, I just did that wrong anyways.
What'd you do wrong?
I put it in the ultramarine. Yeah, I did. Let me do this again. I'll show you again. Same thing, though. It's still going to grade out. I was like, wow, that's really grayed today. That's because ultramarine is great for rocks and things. But here we go. Still not purple. Still grayed out. A little more cool. A little more blue. It's actually a little more warm, weirdly.
Now, there was a question about like painting winter landscapes. It was actually from Mark. And he was like, if you're painting a winter landscape, aren't all the colors cold that you're using?
No, because sunlight reflects on the snow.
So you would still use warm...
You will have warm colors to demonstrate light, to demonstrate value of things that are close. There's a lot of times you're going to actually end up being on warm. There's a beautiful artistry to an all cool winterscape. Beautiful artistry. Really, when you're harmonious colors are those that are together on the color wheel like this. They're next door neighbors. They get along. Contrasting colors are colors that live in opposite directions of the color wheel. This is everything we do with rocks and sky. And
Now, none of this addresses the transparency of a color.
None of it.
Because artfully, Cheryl Lynn was saying that she has two different burnt siennas. One is opaque and one is transparent.
No,
and
we're not addressing the pigment load of your paint. We're not going to address the transparency of your paint. We're just going to talk about the paint that you have, and whether it's apple barrel or whether it's golden artist acrylic, you have to understand how it sits in this color wheel so you know how it's going to mix. Because, so say I have some apple barrel kind of red orange and some apple barrel blue, and I'm getting this weird color, and I thought I'd get purple. But see this one here that was the cooler, this one's closer to the violet?
Yeah.
If I take this over to the phthalo, gotta pull it out a little bit. I get something much closer to a purple. At least it's closer to what I expect. Even if I put it into my ultramarine, right? It's still going to be closer to what I expect. Actually, this one's going to be really close to what I expect. And why would that be? I can actually show you guys in the color wheel. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
See how much more purple that is? I can mix a purple with alizarin crimson and ultramarine. I cannot do that with the other colors, and that's about this wheel. So my ultramarine lives down here, and my alizarin crimson lives down here. They're harmonies, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they're cool.
I'm gonna have to do another close up to see that. Okay.
There's no way. They don't have any yellow. They don't have any green in it. The phthalo blue has what in it? It has green. So it can't. These are almost contrast. We can't get a purple with it. But these, the ultramarine and the alizarin crimson, they're neighbors. So if I'm when I was putting out my color wheel, I'll show it again. I was like really struggling about if this was closer to my dioxazine or this was closer to my dioxazine.
Okay, so this is answering a lot of questions and
creating a bunch of questions. I know.
Let me see if I can distill down a couple of things.
Okay, I'll try to answer that.
Sure. So
we'll just keep talking about this because this is the thing. If we can unlock this, if 10 of you walk away just being able to use what's in your paint bucket, and then you're like, and then you might go, I have all warm. I don't have a cool yellow. Just buy that one cool yellow.
All right. So let's.
But you don't have to buy 20 paints. Buy one paint.
Now, this is where things often seem to get confusing for people. Because when we talk about applying the concept... It's
confusing for me.
Right, when we talk about applying warm and cool colors into, for example, some specific ideas. And one of them is, when doing... let me read this question because it was so good as exactly as it was written. Are warm colors the color of a sunset or sunrise? I'm trying to understand that.
Well, they both... Okay, sunrises tend to be cooler than... sunsets, but that's just because we see more yellows and oranges in general on sunsets, but I've seen some pretty warm. So you can't really say like an effect in nature because that's what you've got to observe. If it's yellow to the red, this is the warm side of the wheel. This is the cool side of the wheel. The wheel is divided in half.
So let's...
Right here is the wheel is divided in half, right? This side is the warm side. This side is the cool side.
So you could, in theory, paint a cool sunset or a warm sunset.
Yeah.
Okay. So you could paint a warm winter scene.
Yeah.
You could paint a cool summer
scene.
People
will respond to it. They'll be just like, I don't know. It just gives me optimism and hope. I don't know why she paints winter that way. It just really resonates with me, but maybe you just worked all in warm colors and that's what's appealing to them. Whereas somebody who's maybe, more reserved and melancholy in temperament might be more attracted to the cool, restful harmonies of the cool side of the color wheel. I, a super hyperactive person, might be more attracted to the high energy of the warm side of the color wheel. Neither one of these has an intrinsically better value. Though sometimes when you hear artists arguing, you would swear that they're applying that. That is, of course, a basic level of true insanity.
Gosh. So I just want to let you know, Cindy, we've got
Just everything with the color wheel is basic level true insanity. That's my thing. Science was some half-baked crazy back then. It's just really what it is all the time.
There's a lot of questions that are coming up.
I'm so happy to answer them, because if you can work this out, if you can figure out where your hidden complements are, right? Because down here, if I tried to mix this blue to this green, I'm going to get a gray-brown every time, right? But if I'm here and I mix here, I'm going to get a bright green every time, because this is a harmony. These guys are friends in my color palette. These guys are going, and does that mean it's a bad color? No, because sometimes I want a muted color that rests in the shade and doesn't pop up in my face.
Gotcha.
But if I was trying to make bright green grass up front with my apple barrel paints, and I had something that had a red undertone to it, and I had something that had a green undertone to it, and I was mixing them and I kept getting green that was like army, I'd be like, dude, I can't even mix blue and yellow. I quit.
Right.
Because that's how you'd feel. You'd be like, I remember this, blue and yellow make green. Why am I not getting green? I keep getting this weird brown.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great if you want it and terrible if you don't.
And let's add to that, just so you guys know, that different pigments don't play together the same way. So, a pigment that might, that you might think yellow and,
Which is why never just take, you'll see a bunch of blogs and it'll say, these colors are this.
Mm-hmm.
Check your paint.
Check your paint.
Because there's some general truths, but even between yellow oxides from brand to brand to brand, I see great variance.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to test it. And that's why artists will be like, I only paint gold and yellow oxide. Because you get to know it, you get to like it, you get to trust it, it has a predictable result, and you're like, I'm all in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? People's interpretation of hue on cadmium
Now
is very varied.
Now, Stephanie asks, aren't there warm and cool colors of every color?
Yes, in a
Okay.
sense, yes. There's warm and cool blue, warm and cool purple, warm and cool orange. They'll have they will lean a little bit. So like, just if I put this yellow out, right? My third yellow, that's a pretty warm yellow. That's heading towards red, isn't it? It has a lot of orange in it. This has more kind of a green tone to it. Lemon yellow will tend to go more to that slight green tone, and you can kind of see it when you get your color wheel here. Here, where's that? Here. You wouldn't necessarily initially think, oh yeah, that's yellow orange, but now that you see it with the wheel, this is why this is a really good tool. If you can upgrade your paint, get a color wheel.
Yeah, and
start to understand the theory. I have seen artists throw down with 50-cent bottles of paint. Is it archival? No. Does it have color shift? Yes. Can it have a lower pigment load? Yes. But the artists that make their color charts, that's bigartquest color mixing, and the artists that work out their personal color wheel, they're going to be able to produce some amazing work. And I've seen artists have all the really best kit. They have all the really best. They might even buy, top tier paints. They might even have real cobalt. So they might shell out for real cobalt and still have a muddy hot mess painting.
Now on that color that you just put out there,
didn't pay attention to color wheel.
On the color you just put out there, so if you added red to it, it would make it warmer.
Yes. So, but look at this. All right. So if I'm here, right, and I add a little of this here, I'm gonna add some white so you can see. Because sometimes you can clarify with the white pigment where you're going. It's a weird deal. Look at that. That's a really interesting tangerine, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to wonder, now what am I going to get if I mix this right here with a little of my cad red? Versus what happens when I mix a little of this yellow with my alizarin crimson? That is an orange. That isn't remotely orange. Orange, orange, not orange.
Yeah.
That's what happened to you. You're just happily going along. You got some alizarin crimson. You thought, that's red. Red and yellow make orange. You have cad yellow light because that was on sale. And you have alizarin crimson. And you're a happy little artist. And you mix them together and you don't get orange. And you go, how can I not even mix a secondary color? My kid does that. That's what happened to you. That's all that happened to you. And being able to do this, and you're going to notice all of us artists have a bunch on this. I think my favorite YouTube explanation of color right now is Steve Mitchell, Mind of Watercolor. Actually, just in general, the watercolorists, they adore it. Have you noticed on the Frugal Crafter that whenever she gets a paint, she makes a little color chart? And then she does tones and washes, and she just plays with it.
She knows her paint.
Well, but I haven't known a watercolorist that doesn't do this. As a community, they get a little set, they get a little piece of paper out, and they're like, what color is this? Oh, that's fun. What color is this? I don't know. Let's find out. And they're very, very experimentative and playful with their product. And that experiment and that play leads to a deeper understanding. A deeper understanding leads to success.
Yeah.
So, yes, I love my golden paint. And I love Matisse. And I love my, Heavy Body Liquitex Pros. And I have a whole list. There's some new ones I want to experiment with. I hear about. I love a great paint. But an artist that knows the product that they have is always going to do the best.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm always like, best product that your budget will allow, and get to know your product. Because if you accept that all your product is behaving like a glaze, right? So say you have Liquitex Basics and you're like, okay, all my product's going to essentially behave like a glaze. And it's not going to hold body. It's going to be self-leveling. And the black pigment's going to lift when I try to brush on. Well, that's an easy fix. Paint it like it's a glaze. Add white where it's necessary. Spray varnish. You just make the adjustments in your art journey, for the paint that you have. That's all you got to do. All of it's intrinsically not good or bad. It's just your relationship to it. And I say this as a complete big baby that likes to paint really nice paints. I wouldn't stop painting if I just had like plaid paint. I'd still be doing it. There'd be color charts
all over.
All over the place.
But
isn't that interesting how they're not all orange?
I'm laughing at here because we have a huge crowd out here. We've got over 270 people here, and they are quoting you back in chat.
I have to show y'all the greens. So when you're trying to understand if something's going to make a green, I'm going to pull up my ultramarine because this is the biggest culprit, right?
Cinnamon's like, we got to get more.
Now this is my ultramarine, and we know my ultramarine is got a lot of red in it. Right? But how could I prove that my ultramarine had a lot of red in it? Well, if I know that my yellow is to the green, right? And I pull it out and I mix it with my ultramarine, what color do I get? Well, that's a great green if you mean it. If that's the green you wanted, that's an okay green, right? That's an okay green. Not very bright. It's not particularly vibrant. And ultramarine isn't going to give you super vibrant greens. It's really, in general, not. If I take it to my CAD, which has a little more red in it. Here we go. I'm mixing along. So put this next to this. And look, that's a truer green than this one a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah. We're
getting closer to a harmony. Right? Now, if I come here with this interesting... This is a really crazy one. So this has got a lot of purple in it. And I'm never going to be able to get a vibrant green out of my ultramarine. No matter what yellows I'm using, though, I can see that I get the best one maybe in the middle here. But if I do phthalo blue and a little of my light cad, what is that? Need a little more. My mix got away from me. This is such deep science.
I know. Everyone's like, Sherpa's on a roll.
I am, but do you see the difference in the vibrancy of these two colors?
Yeah. Well, I know that it's been real important. You wanted to get through
Look
this.
at how much closer in this space this is.
So much so I can't even get a word in.
Sorry.
No, it's totally okay.
No, no.
Everyone's like, man, she's teaching today.
I'm teaching today.
You're teaching.
If you start relating to your products like this.
Here, you have to scoot that up for me a little bit.
Here, this way or this way?
Yeah, other way. There you go.
Here, okay. So now let's get my CAD medium, which we use all the time, to my phthalo blue.
I'll zoom that out just a touch more for you.
So that's a lot more. That's a lot more green. Look at that green. Here we go. Get that nice bright green going. There we go.
So Tiger would like to know if you can mix CAD red.
You know, you can mix a vibrant orange red if you have a good cool red and a good warm red, but you cannot mix CAD red.
It's one of those more unique colors.
It is a color that was created to really address issues. The reason we artists are so like, when it was brought up, when it was, came up that people were concerned about cadmium, and it's really funny when you consider there's cobalt, there's just tons of poison stuff out there in the paint. Lead, bunch of the paint had lead. At the time that all of this was going on, the stuff in our paint that, you really shouldn't be bathing in or eating was a long list, but this was the one that kind of got some credit. And then the paint manufacturers were like, well, our cadmium isn't the same. I mean, it is cadmium, but it's not as soluble as the cadmium used in the industrial processes, and it stabilizes in the paint, and it doesn't, impact the environment in the same way, or the artist the same way. Why we fought for it at the end of the day is that it is like none other.
Now,
it just really is. This is just, there is a like none other. You can make you can tint around your blues, but you're not going to really mix a phthalo blue.
Yeah.
Phthalo blue is the hardest paint color for a paint company to manufacture.
Yeah.
I asked that question. I thought that was the most interesting. I was like, what is the hardest thing to make here? And they're like, phthalo blue. Everybody was like, phthalo blue, phthalo. I don't know what goes into phthalo, but it's a hot mess. And I imagine also not edible.
Yeah.
Right?
So, now,
I'm going to do something really cool here, though. I'm going to pull out my Australian Sienna and this, because this is one of my very favorite greens.
And before we go...
Look at this beautiful deep green. This is a different forest. You see how this is the forest far, far away?
Yeah.
Or this is a more natural-looking forest, and this is a forest in the Disney universe.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Now, if I add a little white to what's happening here, and even a little blue, I can start getting into really wonderful aquatic colors, which I really like. Those beautiful colors that you see out in the ocean. Then I get oceany in my brushstrokes. So what I'm really trying to do is take what I have in my thing and go, where is it? Who is it? For sure, Hunter's Green has more yellow in it than Sap Green. Now, they're pretty much intrinsically the same color, so that's me just being nitpicky, because I'm not going to really get that different of mixes, but I'm going to get a real different mix between Sap Green and Viridian Green, and a real different mix between Sap Green and Phthalo Green, and a real different mix between Southern Ocean Blue. I mean, these are just not the same. And so understanding that and being able to verify, and how I can always test, like, is this more or less, does it make the color I'm looking for? If it's making the color I'm looking for, then somewhere it's a harmony. If I mix this and it doesn't make green, then I know that this is closer to the complement, whereas this and this make green, they're more closer to the harmony. So even when I'm not entirely sure, when I can't see it with my eye because we do not see the same, really important thing I'm about to say here, you do not see the same as the person sitting next to you. Not remotely. It's a miracle we can all communicate with each other for how little we see the same. The way your eyes interpret color and value between people that are considered within the typical vision bracket is extraordinary, the variance. We used to have a studio assistant, and everything our studio assistant would print out was slightly green. We could not get him to see it.
Oh, yeah.
We're like, that yellow is so green. Why is the yellow so green? Could not see that it had shifted to the green. His eyes did not pick that up. Great tonal discerning. Could really see grayscale beautifully, but could not see when a yellow shifted to the green or when it shifted to the red. So if it's hard for you to see it, know that it's hard for me to see it. It's hard for everyone to see it. Pantone hires these weird people. Golden hires weird people. All these people. All the paint companies have these weird people. They're like eyes. These are the equivalent of noses in the perfume industry.
Yeah.
Good news is if you can get good at the grayscale, you can mess up color and get away with it.
Yeah. So can you show how to do a warm gray versus a cool gray?
Sure.
Is that because that was another thing that was sort of confusing for folks, is what the difference is there in that.
Well, we kind of did it up here, but I'm happy to do it again.
Yeah, just kind of.
Let's do it again, and let's do it a little bit bigger, and we'll do it chromatically.
Okay.
So theoretically, right, I'm going to pull this out. Pull that out right there, and we'll get some, we'll just do the cad red, and we're going to mix a gray here. This is my ultramarine and my cad red, and I'll pull some white into it so I can get a good gray. And I got to sort of blend it out. You know me. So, blending that out. And that kind of reads as gray, yeah?
I'm going to come zoom in on that too.
All right, zoom in on that. And I'll do the same with my phthalo. And we kind of did this a little bit when we added umber or burnt sienna to a gray. All right, so I'm going to pull this over here. I'm going to get a little of my cad red. Make another gray. And this is why we're always using our complements to knock a color back.
Yeah, now Stephanie was saying that looks a little purple.
No, it's chromatic.
So it's a chromatic gray.
It's a chromatic gray. And the purposes of a canvas, right, you're going to be using more chromatics, right? Now, so, there you go.
And now that's the difference when so let's talk about that. When a gray has a color tone to it,
it's a chromatic gray.
It's a chromatic gray, and that's
now if I were to take, can you grab me my black and I'll show how to warm up or cool down a black?
Sure.
If you want to just do traditional black paint, and a lot of times, if I'm going to do a cool gray, I'm just going to start with Payne's gray. I really like Payne's gray, but, all right, fluid? Okay. It was just two. But I'm going to do fluid here because it doesn't matter. Oh, here's some. That's okay. I got it out. That's just the body of the paint, but it's still traditionally Mars black. And I'm going to put out some, I've got some phthalo and I've got some burnt sienna.
So chromatic means using color.
Using color. So you have chromatic blacks. We have that on the Big Art Quest, all the different blacks. I haven't done the whites yet because I want to get all the whites, and some of the whites are actually poisonous in a way that scare me. So, I think about it before I get them. But we'll cover it at some point. I'm going to rinse this out.
So I know that we're going to have to go here soon, but...
Yeah. So here's we're just going to do our traditional, this is our neutral gray. All right? So I've got a nice neutral gray that I could use in a painting. It's very neutral gray.
Yeah, so that is so what kind of black what kind of gray do we call that?
That's just a neutral.
A neutral gray. So
but if I add some burnt sienna to it, just a smidge, I'm going to warm it up. And it's warmed up because what's in it?
Color?
Red.
A pigment. So it's
pigment. It's the red pigment warms up the gray.
And then all of a sudden now it's chromatic instead of just being...
Well, no. Chromatic means you use no black pigment.
Oh, okay. So that's...
No black pigments used in a chromatic gray.
Interesting.
Or chromatic black. Now, but maybe I want something that's a little cooler. So I'm going to take a little of my phthalo blue, and I'm going to mix it into my black, and tone that with a cool blue. Pull out a little, not dissimilar from what I did over there without any black pigment, is it? And that's why I'll be like, it's chromatic gray.
Gotcha.
So I didn't, I can mix that, or I can mix that. This is 2 colors. Well, this is 3 colors. This is 4.
Ah.
No, it's the same. Same, 3 and 3. I just did this with cad red and phthalo blue and white, and I did this with black and phthalo blue and white.
Gotcha.
You could add yellow into it.
So now, before we go here, they wanted to know. So oh gosh.
So that's my thing is like try to make a color wheel and figure out if the colors that you have are cool or warm. Make sure you have a warm and cool red. Make sure you have a warm and cool blue, which would be phthalo blue, ultramarine. Make sure that you have a warm and cool yellow. And if again, you can get out it. You don't have to do any of the CADs. You could just do lemon yellow and Enhancer.
Yeah.
And that you can kind of do some research on, and you can always do hue because you're students. It's okay to do hue. You don't have to have the most vibrant paint in the world.
So
I do because I'm a big baby.
I wanted to let you know we had a huge crowd out here. There's like 292 people in the room right now.
I really hope this was super helpful, and you're going to think about
people.
what's in your bucket instead of going shopping. And then also just go, well, I have a warm red,
Ooh,
but I don't have a cool red. Like I don't have a crimson. That's something that's any red.
Hold on. Something went weird here. My screen went all wonky.
Okay.
Bing.
You got to get your wheel, and just make sure.
Man.
What happened?
I'm not sure. My camera's gone all.
Okay.
There it goes. I don't know what happened.
Hi. This is live.
This is what happens when you're on live. Is that weird things can occur.
Just make sure that you've got warm reds and cool reds, warm yellow and a cool yellow, warm blue and a cool blue, and then start to think about: are you mixing harmonies? Are you mixing friends? Those are colors that live on the same side, adjacent to each other. Or are you mixing complements? Those are colors that live. Like whenever I add, you can kind of see it. Whenever I'm adding a little bit of red to blue, those are not harmonies.
Yeah.
They're not adjacent on either side by any means. So that's what grays it out.
And you can find information about this color wheel in the description below.
Description below, I gave 2. This is Creative Color Wheel. I have that affiliate link down there. And I did the Color Wheel Company, which I think has a free printout of a color wheel if you have a color printer.
But you probably buying a color wheel is good because they actually come with those colors checked for print.
Because you can pull it out and just sort of look at it and go,
Yeah.
where does it look like? Where does it look like it's on the color wheel? And just do your best. And then if you can't see it, I had moments. John will tell you. Sometimes I have trouble seeing it. Mix it. If it makes orange, probably was a warm color. If it doesn't quite make orange, it might be a little bit cool. One of your 2 colors, either your yellow is cool or your red is cool.
Now,
when you're trying to make orange.
Before we go, I'm going to pull this up. Everyone was asking where you got your shirt, and we're so close. We're going to probably break 300 before we go here. But I'm going to go ahead.
Dance.
We're going to go ahead and we're going to throw up some dance music here in just a second.
Just because we learned, do you guys feel like you have colors, cool and warm colors locked out a little more and understand how they're impacting your color mixing?
I think they do. Some people were as confused as they were in light. No. They're going to come back and rewatch it a couple more times.
Okay,
because we're going to have more questions. We're going to come back
hit
and
those
read
questions because if I'm not answering the specific question, if I can lock down this one bit of information for you guys, you're going to be like so free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you ready to do some dancing there, Sherpa?
I am ready to do some dancing.
While you're doing that dance in there, would you tell them where you got that awesome shirt you're wearing?
At TheArtSherpa.com. It is my Never Judge Your Journey by the First Step Big Art Quest shirt. In colors and sizes.
We got a whole bunch of that stuff up there, so you guys don't forget you can check it out. www.TheArtSherpa.com, and the shirts you can find at shop.TheArtSherpa.com. But really, come out and don't forget to share all your paintings. Come and joining us on our website. We've got a huge group out there. We've got our forums. We've got our groups going. You can get your own personal profile page, upload all your pictures, share them with your friends. We're really happy to have you guys with us. We've had almost 300 people here right now with us. Got 240 likes right now. Thank you guys so much for being part of our community.
Please play with your paint.
Oh, hey, Angela. Hey, guys.
Hi,
we saw so many of our friends here.
Oh, Angela's a really good color chart video.
She is. And
play with your paint, though. She'll tell you right there. My other friend artist will back it up. She'll be like, play with your paint.
Yeah.
Don't just take blogs' words for it. Mix your own paint. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's just my message.
That's your message for today is mix your own paint?
I mean, read them and learn from it, but then go, but check your paint. That way you're not having to buy a bunch of needless stuff. Buy stuff because it's fun to buy and it's fun to hoard art supplies. Don't buy because you're not getting the results you want and it's a struggle.
Well.
Dun, 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 save money.
And, guys, it's... Oh, look at that. I don't know what to say other than I've just been floored by all the people who joined us, and I really appreciate the community, and I appreciate spending this time with you, Cinnamon.
And check out that book on color because it explains it in a really beautiful, direct, non-pretentious way.
Yeah. So I think that's it, isn't it?
Yes.
We're all done for the day. So we love you guys.
Play with your paint. Never, ever worry about what you're painting with. Just have fun with what you're painting.
Yeah. And enjoy. We love you guys.
Bye-bye.